Hardy Sidhu, who's founder and CEO of Format 3. Please put your hands together for Hardy.
Just give it about 2 minutes, please.
Is this working? Yeah, it's working. So I got to give this about 2 minutes before it starts. So I'm going to have a little bit of icebreaker because a bit of silence is always a bit awkward. Who is pumped for this talk? Yeah. I can't really hear. Can you say that again? Okay, we're nearly there. One more time now. I'm messing. All right, cool. We can start. So, when I was proposed with this whole talk about business and design, I found it quite interesting to myself. I was like, designers tend to keep themselves in a box in terms of design and the space they lead in. But we actually lead businesses. We help users, we help people, but we actually help and support and lead businesses and the impact that we have. And there's a few lessons I've learned along my way. I've been spending, actually I'll get into that and I've got a slide for that. Sorry, I did make this slide yesterday, so I did forget. I am introducing myself. Let's get familiar. I'm Hardy. I've been working in product design for about 15 years. Back in the time when we used to be called web designers, when we used to be called UI, UX designers, when we used to be called fucking unicorns. Remember that term, unicorns? Who here has been a unicorn in their career? What the fuck is a unicorn? I guess we kind of figured it out. They kind of manifested into product design. So that's been my area of expertise for the last 15 years. For the last 6-7 years, I've been working mainly on digital transformation, of how design actually can lead businesses to grow and drive revenues for their organizations. Because there's no point working for someone if they're not making money, because they're not going to be able to pay you in the end. So we've got to figure out how we can make them more money, and we do that through the products and services that we develop, and then we chuck in some free karma at the end of things, right? We go, we're helping society, we're helping the world, and doing nice things for people. But that's kind of been my spill on things. The last year and a half, I have set up my own agency, Format 3, where I'm the founder and CEO of a redefining establishment for the industry of taking agencies and actually doing product how product should be done. I've tried to implement product in multiple leading agencies previously for the last 5-6 years. Agencies really struggle doing product because at the end of the day, you have two businesses competing with each other, whereas we understand designers, we need to support and aid businesses to grow. So Format 3 is all about how we do that as a collective. We're currently situated across North America, Europe, and Middle East now, with a team of about 25 to 30 people here and go. As you know, freelancers, projects come and go. But that's me in a nutshell. I'm very casual normally. Today I'm in a suit because we are talking about business. So I had to come dressed fittingly. When you come to the conversation of designers in a business perspective, I find it very, very hard to distinguish and cut out the terminology of leadership. I think if you are doing design for business, you are leading something. You are leading either your design department, you are leading the business from a C-level executive point of view, or you're leading a bunch of people that don't know what the fuck they're doing at a startup phase. You are leading. And part of my conversation will overlap a little bit with Avinash at the end, but for me, I can't distinguish between a designer that does design and also does the business side of things. They are leading as a collective. And the first question I have for you guys today is, what is a leader? If everyone can answer, just put your hands up and give your shouts.
I like how George Spool says that. The leader is the person who has at least one follower.
Up there? Awesome. Anybody else?
Someone who brings people together.
Awesome.
Someone who brings like best skills to the team.
Awesome. Anybody else? Go on, Sam. Awesome. So, here we can see a multiple collection of different people who I regard as leaders. On the left-hand side, you see our revolutionaries. People like Bhagat Singh, Martin Luther King. You even see your politicians from your Winston Churchill, all the way to your tech side of things with this famous guy at the moment. you can see they all come from different lights of life. They all come from different areas of life, but they all share a common trait which makes them a leader. That shared goal of uniting, uplifting, and achieving success as a collective. And that's really, really important. If you look at any leader, their goal is not to be the person that does the thing, but to take the people on the journey to achieve the thing. A leader is a leader first. Before they are a designer, before they're an executive, before they're a politician, a worker, a person, or a bartender, they are a leader. If they have the leadership skills and they have a leadership journey in front of them, they are a leader first. They may not know it, but they are a leader first. Yes. This is my point around every one of you here. How many of you are designers? Oh, shit. A lot of you are designers. A lot of you may not think that you are a leader. A lot of you may not think that you are business. But this is the point of my presentation today, is trying to reframe that analogy. It's been a passed on context that has been passed down through organizations. Design is a new thing. UXD is a new thing. Product is a new thing in organizations. They're not understanding the power that product and design has. And I want all you guys to know you fit right alongside those leaders. Everyone goes out of here today. If you take one thing from my presentation, you guys have it inside of you to become a leader and place yourself alongside the leaders, even though we make pretty boxes and nice flows. As designers, we tend to separate ourselves. We tend to put ourselves in a box aside on the corner of organization. We are UXD, we are design, and we're just going to sit over here and just play with colors and fonts and typography and stuff. But that's not necessarily the case. Because we keep distancing ourselves from business, we keep distancing ourselves from our opportunities and capabilities we have to actually disrupt market, society, and everything we touch comes from what we design. And we are actually two sides of the same coin when it comes to business. We are the same coin. We like to separate ourselves from execs, and we like to, pardon the language, but bitch about them. We're like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. The CEO's gone mad. He's gone crazy. But we are that same coin. So if the CEO has gone crazy, we've gone crazy. What are we doing? We're there in the fire with them, just dancing around, making colors and stuff. That sounds a bit crazy myself. But we are the same coin. When we start looking at the differences between the two teams, from design team, executive teams. For a design team, we're creating products that add value to people's life. We can all agree on that, right? Yeah? And from an executive perspective, we're capitalizing on the missing value gaps in the marketplace. On both ends, we are creating and we are serving. We are the same coins from design and business. We just have to stop thinking of ourselves as different to design and business. Which kind of leads on to the problem that business needs product and product needs design. On the other side of things, you have executives asking, what the hell is design? What the hell is this UXD? Why do they cost so much? And then from the other side, you have, what do execs do? The CEO is just making up a bunch of strategies. He's saying a bunch of crazy stuff. Oh, we hate this guy, but he pays our salaries. And then you have a lot of friction emotionally going back and forward. And is that healthy for an organization? Has anybody experienced a situation where design is fighting against business? Don't be afraid to say it. We're all designers here. There's no execs here. But as a design leader, we need to be that common language to become that can unify, unite, and uplift both design team and the organization to achieve success. It comes back to that leadership. Us design leaders need to be able to have the toolkits and the skill sets to be able to achieve that. And this is where I get a little bit crazy. Has anybody watched Dragon Ball Z? Yeah, a few people. So this little dance happening here, for the ones that haven't watched it, is a little fusion dance between two of the most powerful fighters in the universe, where they actually join up and become one person. So this is my analogy of what a design leader needs to do and be capable of doing, of tying their design skills with business skills to eventually evolve into that super designer. And that super designer is a key word I put out there because it's very hard for us to disconnect from the word designer. I know this, even though I try in the last 6 years to get away from the title of designer. I keep coming back to it. I am a designer at heart. I started my industry because I love this thing. I have a passion for design. I'm a designer. But we also need to elevate so that we can support businesses. And we do that becoming that super designer. So I'm going to break down a few key ways that I've learned to incorporate both design skills and business skills that have made me that super designer. I am not that ripped. I am not that bulky. I am hiding a lot of things underneath here. So do not take that. I'm going to touch on a point around money. Designers hate to talk about money. How many of you have talked about money in your organization? A few. But money is the thing that drives everything, right? Has anybody heard that song by Wu-Tang, Cream? Cash rule everything around me, cream. Exactly. We only work as designers because there is capital to pay for us and support us on what we do. No designer here is working for free. No designer here is buying clothes for free, buying food for free. Cash rules everything around us. So we need to start understanding from that perspective. Without the cash, we cannot build for the user. We must understand how our work as designers enables cash so we can do what designers do best. I'm not telling you guys to stop thinking about what we do best. I'm telling you how to drive more of what you do best. Because you can do all the best work. You can make the best amazing app there is. But if you haven't made money, do you think you're going to continue doing work for that app? Any thoughts?
Even if you do your great work, if you do not align it with business outcomes, product managers most probably will take the credits. Even if your idea wins and brings loads of cash to the company, some other guys will take the credit for it, no designers.
That's where we need to start being the voice, and I'll get to that shortly. We are the people driving this thing, and we need to start representing ourselves as the people that drive business. The job of that super designer is to lead a balance between design and design. Lead the balance between design and business. Got a little bit stuck there, sorry. But we have to merge ourselves, get ourselves out of being the design department guy and put ourselves in the middle of being the guy that deals with business and their own design department as well. So we fit ourselves right in the middle to achieve success both for our design team and for the business. I have a question for all you. I like to talk. I like to hear people's voices. I'm a very big extrovert. If I hear my voice for too long, I will go a little bit mad. How many of you understand the cash of the business you work for at the moment? Go for it. The cash. Like, how do you understand where the revenue streams come from? How is the company generating revenue? Yeah? Anybody else? Yeah? So there's a lot of you that didn't say anything. I want to ask, so you guys not heard about anything to do with the money side of the business while designing the products that you work for. Is that true? You just get told to build a thing, design a thing, with no idea why you're doing it, what it's going to do, and just like hope that someone decided on the right thing to do. Yeah?
I mean, I guess normally it aligns with the strategy, doesn't it? So you've got to align the user benefits with the strategy, and that often aligns to money. So.
Often.
Yeah.
Often.
Hopefully.
Often that happens. Often the strategy is full of shit. The strategy is made up of people that don't understand what they're doing to make up a strategy just so they say they made up a strategy. And that's where designers have the impact of saying, Our strategic outcomes have measurable results that we can measure and that we can actually track and that we actually can see from, if we understand the cash flow perspective of things, is driven 10 million more, 20 million more, 5,000 more. That allows us to start managing our teams better. That starts to allow us to start understanding where we can put the resources, understanding what things should we do instead of just making the cool thing. Because a lot of us want to make the cool things, but do we understand if we had the finances, the capital runway for the next 12 months to make the cool thing? We could put 12 designers onto something for the next 10 months. Is that going to kill the company? We don't know because we don't understand the revenue of things. Big question mark. So we need to start becoming visionary. We need to start becoming the visionary that's a collective to success, both from a financial point of view and from a purpose perspective. So our purpose is to create great products that impact people's life. But we also need to start understanding how the products actually help the business from a financial point of view. We need to drive money, and we also need to drive value for users. Now, a lot of you probably know all this kind of stuff, right? Empathy mapping, value propositions, user journeys. Everybody's done this stuff, right? So we know this stuff. I'm not going to talk about it. It'll be boring. You guys just continue doing that stuff. But if we are to start talking the business language of things, we need to start adding toolkits to start connecting our dialogue to business. How we talk to business, how we present to business, all comes back down to, if you start showing them an empathy map to a CEO, and they'll be like, the user felt this, the user said this. He doesn't care. All he cares about is how the spend is happening. Is it making money, or is it something that we need to burn, something that we need to pivot from, is something that we need to trash? So one tool that I've been using very, very hard in the last couple of years has been an explore and exploit model. How many of you have seen this before? Sam. So in this model, it basically breaks down the life cycle of a product, where you lead from high innovation risk in the discovery into your low innovation risk confirmation and your validation, and then you transfer into your exploit model where you start launching it, and then you understand if you should sustain innovation, if you should boost it, if the efficiency, understand where that product fits between these two squares. You'll start to understand if the product doesn't move from one of these in a trajectory of diagonal, there's something that needs to be done with that because it's burning capital, it's burning money. You need to either pivot it, you need to bin it, or you need to rediscover it completely. Sorry, let me put that back in. This is a great model. It will take me about a good 45 minutes to talk to you guys properly about it, but I have resources at the end, so you guys can go actually read about it instead of hearing my bullshit analogy of it. But this model actually allows us to start mapping out our product from a business perspective, from a financial perspective, how much money we're pumping into things. How are we open to, yes, it might be the most awesome thing, but it's actually declining on business and sitting in a high def situation. Should we continue pumping money in that thing? Should we continue making it more awesome? Even though it might be the most visually beautiful, the most best experience, but it doesn't actually generate any money, and it's just sitting there killing capital from the company. We have two choices. You can pivot it back into discovery and how to reframe it, or you can just kill it. And I think we have to get comfortable with the idea of killing products. From a business perspective, the CEO will constantly tell you, oh yeah, if you don't make it money, kill it. But designers, we get too attached to things. We start getting detached from things, start seeing it from an actual business product perspective. Let me, On that basis, we need to start establishing the return on investment for you and your team. A lot of us, we talk about value of us in terms of what we produce and how we produce, but we need to start understanding it from a return on investment. If you get a 200K salary, what does that mean for the business? How is that 200K used for your salary to actually generate something for the business? What is that 500K, 600K, 700K that we're using for teams, for a UXD team doing? Is that 700K translating back into a 1.5 million generated for revenue? That is a question we need to start asking. We understand and justify ROI. We should not come into conversations where UXD is like, we done some stuff. But we done some stuff, and we made you money. That's how we get a seat at the table. There's been a lot of conversations for the last 2 decades about seat at the table. How we get a seat at the table is ROI. It's very, very, very simple. I sit on the board of 5 companies at the moment, all because I sit on ROI. My whole worth is on ROI. I know my ROI is being measured constantly. The day that I drop my ROI and they go, Hardy, we just given you $1 million and you haven't done nothing and the company hasn't gone anywhere, I know I'm fucked. But that's the situation. We need to start establishing ourselves and valuing ourselves on ROI from a business perspective. But there is the super designer itself sits on a fine line between design teams and exec teams. It's very hard for us to get out that model of the designers are my best friends. They're all my buddies. We're all going on we all love each other. And like this, we fuck everyone else and we're all about us. It's not, the super designer needs to understand he can't be best buds with the design team and he can't be best buds with the exec team. He needs to sit in between and be the common denominator between both teams to bring them together for that unity that a leader does. So for success of your team, you can't only think about your team. If you are the head of design, if you are the CCO, you cannot keep thinking about yourself as a design team. You've got to start thinking of yourself as the voice of design on the table at the organization. And that comes twofold when we talk about how we do that. From a design team and an exec team. So if you imagine you start building better products for an experience as a design team. That's a common goal, right? We want to build better products, better experiences. But with your exec team, those things need to translate into driving revenue and growth. We just translate our dialogue and how we talk about what we do in a different light with our execs and how we talk about it with our design team. Design team, we talk about it, we're going to fucking create the best future ever. We're going to redesign the internet and all sorts of shit. But then what you talk about with the execs, we're going to generate 50% higher revenue margin this year. Secondly, managing priorities. It's your job as a design leader to start managing priorities in terms of what your team is working on. But with the exec team, you actually start to translate that and allocating spend accordingly to business growth. You've got to understand what the business is in terms of trajectory, understand how much money there is to spend, and that will determine your priorities of what you work on as well. So the two conversations happening at that time, you'll see the super designer sits in the middle of those, and that's a translation of what you're basically talking one thing over here, translating it into that, and then feeding it back over here. Keeping the team motivated and aligned. Keeping motivated as designers are very important. It's very, very crucial to keep motivated and keep aligned. But from an exec team perspective, you need to start building trust as a design team. When you go into that meeting room, they need to trust you. And not trust you specifically. They need to trust you because you are the voice of the whole design team, the whole department of UXD. You need to start building that trust. And that will allow you more freedom to keep the team motivated, keep them aligned. They'll give you more money to do things that you want to do on the side because they trust you. And then finally, finding new discoveries with your design team. Great. We all need to stay on a discovery path. No product is ever fully discovered. But from an exec perspective, how we translate that is justifying the business direction. When we come in, we can't be like, we discovered a bunch of cool stuff. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. You've got to justify it. You've got to justify it in terms of what it's going to bring in revenue-wise, how it's going to expand the business, how it's going to grow the organization as a whole. And staying on the topic of how we can reframe conversations, I have a few key examples here that we could actually use. So the first one being, everyone's heard this, we need a design system because it'll be easier. Everyone's been saying, design system, we need it. No one really, anytime the design system gets shot down in terms of budget and scoping, it's because the exec team don't understand it. How you need to translate that, if we invest X amount of dollars into a design system, it will save us X amount of dollars in time moving forward because we'll be able to make those screens quicker, make those flows quicker. That's what they want to hear. They don't care about your Figma. They care about what the money is being spent on and how it's going to benefit them. We need to start testing our solutions because it's UX. How many of you heard that? It's UX, we need to do it. Tell a CEO that, he'd be like, what does that mean? We need to start validating our ideas at early stage so we don't burn revenue on features that don't deliver expected return. We can use many use cases of these where the strategy, or what we talked about before, where we've said, because we've done it, because the strategy said it, sometimes it's all fluff, and then we do something, we spend 2 million on it, and it just goes to shits. It's like, that's burnt revenue. But we could spend 1 week doing a rapid prototype and actually testing it out within a week and not burn $2 million. I've seen it multiple times, guys. Companies burn through money like there's no tomorrow. And they don't want to, but the UXD sometimes forces them to. We need more designers because it's unmanageable. What does that mean? Like, what do you need more designers? Why do we need more designers? So we should dedicate X amount of budget towards these new resources, which will allow us to achieve Y and generate X in revenue increase. Understanding where we have budgets, understanding what we're doing in terms of capital will allow us to have a discussion about money and allow us to have a discussion about where we should allocate budgets. And then that can be translated back into design teams and the actual true justification of hiring more designers. And then there are 3 areas of knowledge that I would suggest that we all expand on to actually start maneuvering ourselves into that super designer. First one being revenue streams. Understanding the revenue channels and how your team can open up new channels and save costs. Start understanding how your company makes money. Start understanding how you can start benefiting that and accelerating that and saving the cost as well at the same time. Business objectives. That design leader, that super designer needs to be a part of the larger business objective of planning sessions to lead an org-wide direction. We cannot continue on being not a part of the strategy, as you said, because somebody set a strategy. If we're not in the meeting to talk about the strategy, it's going to be a bullshit strategy. It's not going to be a fully thought through from each person's perspective of organization strategy. And then that last one is very, very important to me in Format 3, that culture dynamics. Being that super designer, being the person between the exec team and the design team allows us to be an enabler to bring the C-level closer to the product team and closer to the ground of operations. So bringing them back down, we have the abilities from a personality skill point as designers to actually bridge that gap. And then, I'm going to move very quickly here, Miles. Must-read document or book, Invincible Company. If you guys haven't read this, every designer wanting to move up into leadership, into business, and become that super designer should read this book. It has become one of my holy books that I keep on my little bookshelf. Everyone should read that book. A lot of the explore, exploit models also discussed within that. The leader of tech companies are leaders of a collective, not a discipline. If you are becoming a super designer, we are not going to become a leader unless we stop calling ourselves the leader of a discipline. We are a leader within an organization, and that's how we should start reframing ourselves. Do not wait for change. Be the change for whole. I'm sick and tired of hearing about seat at the table. I'm tired of hearing about how we can get a seat at the table. Just fucking grab the chair and sit at the table. It's not that hard, guys. Grab the chair, sit at the table, become the leader, become the voice that bridges the gap in the organization. I'm going to end you with a final quote. I always come back down to revolution around things, but this is one of my dearest, latest activists from Punjab. I had a great quote 2 years ago. Celebrating this win is important to continue building the hope and courage so that when required, you can get twice as many people to step forward. But the actual success comes from the steps taken off this win by the leadership. Everyone in this room, we have the knowledge to take on, get that seat, sit down. 5 years' time, we will have multiple people just like us with the right mindset that leads organizations to success because of what we've done at that first step. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you very much. Hardy, I know we're slightly a minute or two over, but we're just doing a screen change. So I want to ask if anyone has a question for Hardy whilst we do this.
You mentioned that one book. Are there any other books you will recommend
There are.
on the topic?
There are, but they're very businessy.
Very businessy.
Off the top of my head, probably not. Probably connect me with a pub, get my number. I'll look at the bookshelf.
No problem, no problem.
I'm happy to chat with Hardy and communicate
Yeah.
anything he's got beyond that. All right, awesome. Yeah, once again, put your hands together for Hardy as he takes his chair.